morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Pitch Track Chronicles. I'm Uncle Taz here with Rob and Donald. Rob, it's good to have you back after a couple of off days. I'm going to lead in with the first topic really towards you. And it's got to be, we have to talk about the trade deadline, even though they did just have their series with the Rays. I think that's taking a back seat for the moment with the in-game play because, like we were saying before we went on, there's been so many topics going on with the Yankees off the field that the in-game play is kind of taking a back seat, and that's what does happen this time of year. And yesterday was absolutely no different from that with the trade deadline. And the one thing that, Donald and I, we were at the game, and it's just every 2 seconds, it seems like we were looking at our phone because it was pinging a lot of activity going on throughout baseball yesterday. It seemed like it really right down to every 5 minutes. Oh, well, this guy's going here, this guy's going there, and we're gonna do our best to break down it all. But we'll be focusing more on what the Yankees did and some other moves throughout baseball that really highlighted the day. But Rob, when you look at everything that the Yankees have gone through over the last couple of weeks, as they have fallen out of first place, the wild card seemed to be becoming questionable. How would you grade the deadline from Cashman?
I give it an A. He got everything that we needed. What do you got in a starting pitcher? That would have been great. But what he did was by adding 3 bullpen arms, he shortened the game now for the rotation. You now have 4 legitimate closing options. I know Devin Williams has been far from reliable, but he's still, in terms of stuff, and a guy that can get the job done on any given day. I know he's still got that ability, but now you have a really solid, really good, dare I say, back end of the bullpen that you can shorten the game for your rotation. So it's going to help a guy like Luis Heel, who's coming back on Sunday. It's going to help a guy like Will Warren, who now doesn't have to stretch past 6 innings potentially. Yeah. The only guys you really want to push that are with Fried and Rodon. So you shorten the game. You get Doval trade was out of nowhere. I did not see that coming. That was huge. I really liked the Bednar trade. And not having to give up any of like the big names that we were hoping to hold on to, like Schlittler and Jones and etc. I think it was a slam dunk deadline for Cashman. He got everything he needed, and he didn't have to give up any of the guys that I thought he was going to have to give up Schlittler for sure to get a good bullpen arm. You saw the prices for some of these guys. Like, look at what Mason Miller got moved for. Look at what Helsley and Rogers got moved for. They were rentals. Look at what Duran got moved for, who I really wanted, but I think he attacked the needs. He got help for this year and next year. And the Yankees are a better team today than they were at this time last week. And I think that's what's important here is they've improved their team for the stretch run to hopefully make a push for that division again. At the very least, make a push for the postseason. They're better equipped now for a postseason run. Of course, a lot of it has to do with the manager and the way they play on the field. But on paper, the roster is a hell of a lot better than it was a week ago, even 24 hours ago. Now you don't have to worry about praying that Ian Hamilton or Loaizaga can get you to the 8th inning. Now you can be like, okay, we have Doval, Bednar, Weaver, Williams. They're not taking Williams out of the closer role for some strange reason, but you have a really good back end of the bullpen now, and I think that's very important. Plus the bench. I love the Caballero trade. That dude can run, he can play defense, and he could potentially push Volpe out of that spot a little bit here and there, which would be nice because I don't think he should be playing every day. So yeah, I think it was a really good, overall really good day and a really good trade deadline in general because he got a third baseman, didn't have to give up too much. I think we can all agree McMahon's a major improvement over what we had at third base this season. I love the Rosario trade. Would like to see him play a little bit more. Slater is fine because he can hit lefties, and he's a good defender off the bench. And then you look at the bullpen arms. I mean, the team is better. And I think Brian Cashman did a really good job.
Yeah, no, I don't think there was one move where you're scratching your head going, where is this guy going to fit? Because, my first reaction when we were talking, when Donald and I were talking yesterday, was why bring in Rosario was kind of like the one that we were kind of questioning the most. But when you look at it through a bench piece point of view, it actually does make sense because it is an upgrade to the bench that we already had. And it sucks that we had to give. I think the one guy, I don't think it's who we. A big question is who we got. I think it's or who we missed out on. I just think what bothers me to a degree on this trade deadline is the fact that we did have to part ways with Peraza after all the work that he's put in, and all the high hopes that we had for him. So I know Donald, he's your boy. Um, is is that one of those guys you were hoping that you could have held on to, or are you excited that he's going to actually get an opportunity to play somewhere else?
I'm actually happy for him. I think he needs a new opportunity. The Yankees weren't that team. I think he's going to be a good player. I have faith in him. I I know for that the Yankees misused him. Not necessarily this year, but in past years they misused him, and also they misread his ability because he could have commanded a massive return. Even as much as a year or two ago, he could have commanded a massive return, but the Yankees held on to him without having a plan, and that speaks to an organization that is deeply flawed. That they have talent that is attractive to the rest of the league, hold on to them without having a plan on how to utilize them, and then when they try to utilize them, basically screw them around. So I don't think we got the real representation of what a Peraza is. However, he can't hit at the big league level right now. So he needs a new organization that can maybe get that out of him. But he's got a hell of a glove. And he's a hell of a hard worker. And you can tell there's different standards with the Yankees as to who they prefer and who they don't. They never liked Peraza. So I'm actually happy for him. The Yankees didn't get the return that they could have for Peraza, which is frustrating because it's not like I'm a Peraza fanboy. I've been more than happy to trade him if you got excellent return for him a couple of years ago. So they didn't do it. That's frustrating. But at the end of the day, the Yankees were at a spot where there was no role for Peraza. They've already upgraded their bench with better players than him, so I'm not happy to say that. So they had to move him. At least they didn't DFA him. At least they traded him. So it's kind of bittersweet because I was a big fan of the boy, and I wish him well over there in Anaheim or LA or wherever the fuck they are now. And I think he'll be a better player as the years go on. And you're probably going to look going, damn, there was something here. But the Yankees did the right thing by trading him. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I think we can look at. I think he's going to end up being looked at by Yankee fans as like a Tito Estrada type player. We're happy he's having success. That really, at the time when he was ready, there was it was just no spot for him. Well, they made the wrong decision, but he's been able to kind of build himself a pretty decent career.
Pretty good comparison.
So that's
like that comparison.
You always like to see when he's in the highlight reel, and it's not bittersweet. It's just sweet when you get to see them succeed somewhere. But I mean, and Rob gave them an A. Donald, if you had a grade, we're gonna get to some of the grades that are coming up in the chat in a moment. But as overall, what would you grade Cashman's deadline this year?
I'll go through the moves individually. I think McMahon's an A. We didn't give up anything for McMahon, and he's the best. He's the best third baseman we've had since A-Rod, or certainly Gio Urshela. So I think that's an A. To be honest, as you guys know, he was my number one target. When considering where we are as an organization, I didn't want to give up all our top prospects for Eugenio Suarez. I didn't think we're a Suarez away from a World Series. McMahon's like an incremental improvement, so I give that move an A. We didn't give up anything for him. I like that move a lot. Let's go with Caballero. I think that was just pure fuckery from Brian Cashman, and I love it. He's just like, I'm gonna steal the player in the opposite dugout just because I can, because I'm Brian Cashman. That was excellent. But in reality, it was also an excellent move because this guy used multiple controllable years, fast as shit, and a good defender. And I mean, he should be able to push Anthony Volpe. There's no downside here to that move, none at all. Like,
Yeah.
even if they move him to AAA because they're so indebted to Anthony Volpe, you've still got a very valuable piece. Very valuable with multiple years. So, excellent move. Loved it. And I would love to see him be our starting shortstop. It's not going to happen, but another way of looking at it is it also gives us another option, so that with Anthony Volpe's yips, you can put Caballero in there. You've got someone that gives you incredible speed. He's tied for the league lead in stolen bases, and we got him for Pereira. That's a steal of a trade. That is an A. You can even argue A plus, just considering the value. My favorite deal, and it's not close, and it's probably the biggest steal of the entire trade around baseball. Doval. Camilo Doval. How did we get him for that prospect return? That is a crazy, crazy daylight robbery. Absolute daylight robbery. Doval is a monster. He is a machine. We got him for a very light package. Very light. Multiple controllable years. Guy's a monster. A plus deal. He should be our closer. If you want me to give you who I think should be our closer, I think it should be him. I think he should be our closer. The guy is a fucking machine. I'm very excited to see him. A plus deal. Next one, Bednar. I'm giving it a B. Love Bednar as a player. I just think it's a slight overpay because Rafael Flores is one of my favorite catchers in the system. He's been absolutely mashing, and I'm a little bit down on Austin Wells right now. In reality, Austin Wells has been bad since last August. That's just the reality of the situation. He's basically getting a free pass from Yankee fans because he's such a nice guy. He's such a cool, fun guy, and also he's a good catcher. But the reality is he's massively underperformed offensively, and he did what he did on the base pass, which is an offense that should mean you get benched for multiple games, not just one. Like, it was a complete disgrace. So I'm a little down on him, and I'd quite like to have more depth at catcher in the minors in case they need to go another direction. And I like Flores. Guy was mashing in AAA, and he's major league ready as a catcher. So I think it was an overpay, personally. Top 8 prospect in our system. Didn't love it, but Bednar is very, very good. Very, very good. Don't get me wrong. 2+ ERA right now. He went an entire month without giving up an earned run over in Pittsburgh. And to be fair, if you're looking over at Pittsburgh Twitter, Pirates fans are not happy with the deal at all. They think that the Yankees got a fantastic deal. They didn't like it. And then the Pirates GM incredibly put his foot in it by saying, yeah, the Yankees actually offered a bigger package, but we preferred this one. We could have gotten an even better return, but we preferred this one.
Sucks for them.
Thing for a GM to say. Very weird thing for a GM to say. So, all in all, Bednar's a good move. I'm giving it a B plus just because Flores going the other way is a bit of a stinger, but he's really good, and I just hope that he isn't going to be the 6 ERA Bednar of last year. As long as he sticks to how he performed sandwiched in between that year, then we've got ourselves a fantastic closing option. He could easily be our closer, but he's going to be a monster of a setup man, whichever way you use him. So I think that's a good move too. Slater, I don't know. Hey, RBI yesterday. But I'm just starting to wonder what our role is for Rosario now. Like, Rosario's role is very limited now because he matches lefties, but so does Slater. He could play outfield at a pinch, but you've got Slater now. Is he going to make McMahon a platoon at third base? Then why make the deal for McMahon, considering you're taking on like $16 million next year of McMahon? So he's not going to be a backup shortstop because you got Caballero being the backup shortstop now and Volpe. That is what I don't totally understand because I actually really like Rosario and we should have signed him in the offseason. So, TC Rosario is better than Slater. I'm not quite sure why they made the Slater move, frankly, if you got Rosario, because Rosario could easily take his role. That's a little bit of a weird one. But Rosario as a player, excellent. Like, no doubt about it. Excellent utility player. Just not sure what his role is now. The other move, Bird. Didn't love that move. I don't think we needed to make the Bird move. Not a big fan. I also didn't like giving up Rock Regio for him. So all the deals, that was the only one that I'm giving a C or C- to. Didn't love it. I would have preferred to have kept Rock Regio because we do have some very solid. We had to send down De Los Santos, who's an absolute monster lately. For Bird, I don't know. It just felt like another Matt Blake project. Didn't really like that one, so I'm giving that a negative grade. But all the other ones, A or B plus. So overall, I'm giving Brian Cashman a very solid A.
Yeah,
That's fair.
Yeah, it's a fair breakdown. I think look, the Slater Rosario discussion I think is going to come into play later on. Once we get close to the Judge being healthy, I think that's when they're going to try to evaluate where they're at with their roster. Because there's been a couple of comments in the chat about what the roster construction is going to look like as they come back. But for me with my grade, I have to give them an A. I think the reason that we were able to really address every need that we needed to. We got some bench depth. We got bullpen depth. I think the only thing that's keeping it from being an A plus is the rotation could have used a little bit of a shakeup, maybe. But when you have a reliable bullpen, it does take the pressure off of the rotation, which was something that we talked about the other day. That's probably why the bullpen looks so strained, is because the rotation was kind of falling apart a little bit. Everybody's trying to carry the weight of the other one. But I think it was a solid A deadline, especially that we didn't have to give. There were a couple of prospects that we would have liked to hold on to, but we kept a lot of our top guys.
Kept all of our top guys.
We really didn't have to overpay for anybody, and that's when it comes with the Yankees. It always seems like there's that Yankee tax that gets referred to. We didn't have to pay that this year, so I think Cashman did a really good job this year. I would have liked this deadline. It would have been an A plus if we did this last year. If we would have made these tight moves last year. We always said that was the year that he really needed to get a little more aggressive. But better late than never to the party, Cashman. All right.
Dude, actually, that would have been a World Series winning deadline if that happened last year.
They probably would have won the World Series with those kind of moves. We wouldn't have been bringing Nestor Cortez in the King Game 1 if we had made these moves. Right? That's for sure.
Well, Bednar or Duvall instead,
Right. It would have been
I
a
think
completely different story.
I think the bullpen moves actually takes the pressure off of Weaver. I think it could either be because I think he needs. I think he's still hurt, so I think that gives them a little flexibility, maybe to not pitch him so much, or hopefully not, but give him a second IL stint to kind of really rest up his arm. But I think Weaver's just a little broken right now. So I think the bullpen moves they made really take the pressure off of who we already have. And with Williams, we've already seen that Boone has not been afraid to move Williams out of that closer spot before. So if he's not holding up his end of the bargain and the other guys are, you can see another switch this season. If Boone really, Boone knows baseball for 3 generations like he claims. But
It's going to have to happen. But the great thing about the deadline was that the bullpen, which was for over a month, had an ERA of over 6.
Pretty bad.
The worst in the league, is now the best in the league, arguably. That's quite a turnaround overnight. So it speaks to a lot of credit to Brian Cashman. Duvall, closer, elite. Bednar, closer, elite. You got Cruz, who's been elite this year when he's ready. You got Weaver, who's been elite for most of the year, apart from when he's returned from injury. He's been a little iffy, but by and large, he's been elite. Williams has been elite as a closer, just not this year. He's been awful this year, let's be honest, but he's still very, very good. I can't believe the amount of closers that we have. We went from having no closers to about 4. So it's crazy. And then you've also got talent like Tim Hill who come in a pinch. You've got De Los Santos, who we just sent down AAA, even though he just cruised right through the game yesterday. He's good. There's some very exciting pieces that Aaron Boone can screw up. So I'm very interested. I'm very interested to see how Aaron Boone does this.
Yeah. But we're past a little past the 20-minute mark. Let's give out a little roll call to everybody hanging out in the chat, and then we'll go through what their grades for the deadline were. We got Doran hanging out with us, John the Beagle Dad, TC Steels. What's going on, TC? Jonathan Demon D hanging out in the chat again this morning. Good to see you. We got Ken Claus hanging out. We got who else is hanging out with us today? Ivan, what's going on, Ivan? We got FJ. Of course, Mr. Barros is with us every day. Dev Finch, what's going on, Dev? We got Chris the Flash poking his head in there. What's going on, Chris? And we also have Egyptian Magician with us as well. So going through some of these comments and with their grades on what they would give. Let's start with we got Ivan Manny going with a B+, which I think anything under a B, I think we'll see if there are any in that realm. I would like to see what more you would have wanted him to do.
John says Cashman was a beast this deadline. We definitely agree. Demon D, I love it. Cashman is the god. Let's go, Yankees. So we're getting some excitement in the chat here. Duran says we've now actually got 6 closers. We have 6 closers now, Donald. That's insane.
Then let's see. Jonathan's grade on this was an A. He gets it an A-.
Yeah, I can see that.
John Beagle Dad an A. Mr. Barrows B+. We got. I know we had a couple more grades in here as well. Where were?
I think the general consensus it was a good deadline.
Yeah.
If we're just gonna
Flores.
Donald didn't either, Jonathan. one of the visuals that you always get from the deadline. Donald and I were talking. I kind of threw this at Donald while we were sitting through the rain delay yesterday. You put Tats in a rain delay with a couple of drinks and some boredom. You'll never know what's going to come out of his mouth. But we were talking about like how to schedule a timeline for a deadline, and it's something that I think would be a great, be a fun discussion for amongst us and everybody in the chat and anybody watching later on. Um, there's a situation where you always see. We saw it yesterday with Tampa. Now they have to take their player because he's been traded out of the lineup, and he is now not an option. So now you're leaving a team one roster man short than their opponent because obviously now they can't play. So that also, if you're moving a bullpen on, right now you're down a pitcher. If you go into a deep game and you lose the game because you're a pitcher short, I think that's kind of unfair to the competitive balance of the sport. So we're trying to figure out what baseball could do to fix that, and should they push should they have the trade deadline at the end of the All-Star break? Now, what they could do is push the All-Star break, like Donald was saying, have the All-Star break right at like where, in theory, would be 82 games. That's where everybody gets a week off. By the time baseball resumes, you have to have completed all your trades. So teams have time to travel. The players have time to travel. Teams have time to adjust their rosters. And I think it makes everything a little bit more of a smooth transaction.
Well, Ivan agrees. MLB should make the trade deadline a day off across the sport and make it an event. I mean, you're not guaranteed to have the kind of trade deadline that we had yesterday every year because that was historic.
No, but that was a factor of our discussion. Yeah.
But in essence, I think Ivan's spot on. I think what they could do as an alternative is make every game an afternoon game so that it's all finished by 4. Every game will be finished by around 4-ish, and then the deadline's at 6, so that you still have time to get all the deals done without moving players during a game. But I do think a day off for the deadline's a good idea, and you want to market your sport, and if you make the deadline like
a little more of an event,
a heavyweight kind of event, then that would be cool. I would edge towards just making every game an afternoon game, and then leaving the organization time to get all the deals done. Maybe even make the deadline 8 p.m. rather than 6 p.m. And that's what I would probably do. But I do agree that they should have more time to do it rather than make all these deals while teams are playing. That's pretty harsh on players, etc. So yeah, I think you're onto something there.
Rob, what do you think?
I mean, I don't think you really have. I don't know. It's like out of your control almost because if they give everyone a day off, there's like you said, Donald. There's no guarantee that you get a day like yesterday because it kind of feels like when you have a certain time limit, teams are like the extra 2 hours. Actually, I think is what led to yesterday's deadline being so crazy.
Yeah,
because usually it was 4:00, and then you got an extra 2 hours, and you saw. Trade after there were trades filing in after 6. Like we got Doval, I think it was announced at like 5:59 or something like that. So like things were happening down to the last minute, and it doesn't happen every time that a player gets traded in the middle of a game like that. And you look at the other day, I think the Blue Jays and Orioles made a trade in the middle of a doubleheader. So it's like he left the first game as an Oriole and then went to the Blue Jays. So
as a Blue Jay.
Yeah, it's kind of fun things like that you actually kind of look forward to. That's why they call it Hug Watch. So I understand like you're playing a man short, but the Yankees were also playing a man short yesterday because Peraza left the game, even though he wasn't starting, but he was taken off the roster when he was traded. So I guess the best way to counter it would be to give everybody the day off, or like you just said, Donald, make it every game during the afternoon. This way, you still have a few hours to get some moves done, so you're not having to pull somebody mid-game. So I think that's really the only way you can do it. I don't think they're going to switch around the schedule too much because there's already so much limited time off as it is with 162 game season. I don't know. I don't really know what else. I like it being at the end of July because it gets you ready for the final 2 months.
Yeah.
I think the end of July is actually a perfect day for it. But I do
Yeah,
like the idea of the All-Star break being, because I think in the NBA the trade deadline is not too far off from the All-Star game. They're kind of like pretty close.
Yeah.
But in baseball, it's like a few weeks of a difference. But things don't really pick up until like the week of the deadline in baseball. So I think it's kind of fine the way it is, but I like the idea of making everything an afternoon game. This way you don't have to worry about a player potentially getting moved in the middle of a game.
It was a historic deadline. I can't remember a deadline like it. It was crazy. Like every team was in on the action.
Yeah.
It was freaking mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean,
in a long time.
I know one thing we were saying, that I felt that, and I believe it. I think the Mets, with the additions to that bullpen, had a great deadline. The Brewers had a really good. The Padres, the Philly, like a lot of teams. The Astros getting Correa back. Like there were a lot of moves that went on that were like, wow, I didn't see that coming, or wow, that team really did the right thing. Was there a move yesterday where you were that kind of you were like, wow, that was such a good move?
I think the best move was the Padres getting Mason Miller. That is, and they got Sears in the trade as well. Like that, I didn't think Mason Miller was going to get traded. Once I saw his name was available, I'm like, give up whatever it takes to get him. That dude is disgusting. But the Padres, man, I give credit to Preller. If they would have traded Cease, that would have been like a perfect buy-sell type of deadline. Luckily, the Astros did not get Dylan Cease, and the Red Sox did not get Joe Ryan, thank God. But yeah, I think the Padres getting Mason Miller was kind of the surprise to me because we knew Duran was going to get traded. We knew Helsley was going to get traded. Like most of the guys that we knew were going to get traded got traded, but I did not see Mason Miller getting moved and giving up the number 3 prospect in baseball to get him. That's a hefty price, but hey, the Padres they don't care about prospects. They trade them if they can get someone of significance. Preller does not care; he'll trade him. That move shocked me, and I was pretty pissed that we weren't able to get him. But I was also pretty surprised that the Marlins held on to Alcantara because he stinks this year. I thought they could have gotten something for him, but maybe if he rebuilds his value in the final 2 months as they make a playoff push, believe it or not, then they can trade him in the offseason.
Yeah, the Miller trade was really good. The one trade, actually, Donald and I were still hanging out at that point. I thought the Suarez going back to Seattle was a move that I like to see. He was able to go back to where it all started, especially with the season he's having. Him paired up with Raleigh. I think that, and with the Seattle's starting pitching, their rotation, the bullpen for Seattle's somewhat. Until I think it's Munoz is the guy you got to try not to get to. But I think Seattle made some significant moves for their division. I think the Astros now have some serious competition. But I like the Suarez back to Seattle. That one I really liked.
There's a lot of moves that I liked, but I have to say I think Correa rejoining the Astros is a great deal for the Astros. I would expect that Correa will become closer to the player that he was when he left the Astros, going back home to Houston. So I think that's a good get, really good get for Houston. I thought Houston had a really good deadline actually. They also landed Arias. Decent acquisition there. They've also acquired Jesus Sanchez from the Marlins. So they had. I like their moves. I like the fact that they got Ramon Arias from the Baltimore Orioles. He's a solid utility player. So the Astros got better. The Mets had a hell of a deadline. They were just like, take all our prospects. I don't even know if they have any prospects left after all the prospects they gave up. but they certainly got better. They're going all in, and I
The Mullins
respect
trade for them was a smart move. Getting McNeil out of center field, that was smart.
Yep. I like the Helsley deal. So there's a lot of moves there. Did the Astros get Nolan Arenado?
No, Arenado didn't get traded. The
Right,
Astros got.
he was supposed to go to the Astros.
Yeah, that was been talked about in the offseason, and I think he said no to the trade, but then it kind of ramped up a little bit in the offseason, and again, like a few days ago, it was brought up, but I'm shocked that they haven't traded him yet. But the Cardinals are actually still competing, so believe it, they're actually in it. They're in the hunt for a playoff spot, so good for them. There is a bit of news from Heyman, though. He said the Yankees declined to give up either Spencer Jones or Lombard for Alcantara. So I'm kind of glad they didn't.
That was a smart non-trade.
Yeah, I would have given up Jones for an elite reliever. I would if we would have got Duran, I would have been all in on that because Duran is disgusting. He's under team control, but Alcantara's having such a rough season that if he came over and had like a 4 ERA, we'd be screaming for Cashman to get fired. So, but if we would have got Edward Cabrera, I would have had like a 2-year journey for me. Would have been finally over. I would have been uplifting if we would have gotten Cabrera. But no, I'm glad we didn't overpay for Alcantara. I think the trades we made were fine, and overpaying for a guy like Alcantara would have been risky. Because I think you look what he's at. He has like the highest ERA in baseball this year. I don't know if Matt Blake is fixing that in half a season or 2 months of the season.
A.J. Preller is definitely the opposite of Brian Cashman. Like, he moves all those prospects without question.
He gets rid of them.
Unbelievable.
Well, they were saying on MLB, forget who was on, but they were saying if the Padres don't get things right, like there's going to be a serious problem. How many because they're almost running out of their farm is completely depleted.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to also think, go back to when they made the move for Soto, how much they had to give up. Like they do not hold prospects at all. We get on, the Pirates and the Marlins for the way they move guys around. I think the Padres, as far as with their farm system, are just as guilty of kind of, making moves that, I don't think they read the room properly of what's going on with the division, the lead, the playoff spots. I think the Padres are definitely one of those teams that do not look at the bigger picture. They just look at the now.
Well, they always trade guys the next year anyway to get prospects back. Look at what they did with Soto. They traded Soto to us. They got back Michael King. They used Thorpe to get Cease, who they almost traded to get more prospects back. So they're going to find a way to move somebody next year to get some assets back. They'll be fine.
Dude, the Padres are not dumb, Uncle T. They are a very smart organization. They know what they're doing. They made a bunch of big moves yesterday, and yet they still have a depleted farm system. Yet they still had the farm system in order to make those moves. So
I think that was Rob's counted. They'll trade the players and get the prospects back.
Exactly.
Like next year, they can trade if Musgrove gets healthier, they can trade Cronenworth potentially. They have guys they can move. They'll be fine. That's how Preller moves. And I'm sure they would like to have more wins under their belt, but they go for it. You can't say they don't. Even because no one thought. Remember what was it last year? Oh, they're going to be strapped for cash. They have all these contracts. They continue to get talent, even in
Good point.
Even in a time where people think they're not going to be able to get money, or they had that ownership snafu this offseason, I think it was. They're still winning. They're still in a playoff spot, and they're still a threat because they got a healthier rotation. Their bullpen is disgusting.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so freaking good. Now, you add Mason Miller when you already had a good bullpen. I mean, come on now. They go for it.
Well, that's why there was a lot. Now that you say that, I mean,
to get Miller,
a lot of people were saying that the Mets came away from the deadline with the best bullpen. Not with the Padres. I think that script was flipped as soon as they got Miller. Once they were able to add Miller to that bullpen, Yeah, the Padres bullpen. That's something the Yankees should have.
And the
That's the
Yankees
type of
are pretty
bullpen
close.
we should have. We're used to getting.
Well, it's pretty close now. I mean, you have Bednar and Doval and Weaver.
Yeah. Oh no, I love
Yeah.
our bullpen now.
I
Here's a
agree
question.
with Los here because he's saying that he expected Pereira and Flores to get traded. And I thought Flores was a perfect trade candidate because he built his value up so much. And Pereira, there's no spot for him. Like the fact
Here's
that
a
we got
question.
something for Pereira.
Here's a question: why didn't the Yankees trade Williams? Because that's what something the Padres do. If you got a guy expiring, you move him. If you know you have no intentions of re-signing that player, move him, acquire assets back. Why didn't we do that with Williams? I mean, we have like 4 other closers that would have covered his role.
We
Why?
have 6 closers, Donald.
Why
6.
hold on to
They're
Williams?
gonna yell at you again.
We know that we're not going to extend him.
Yeah.
That's absolutely a fact now. We're not extending him. It's not going to happen. So why hold on to him?
No, I was going to ask that question. Why didn't we move any of our expiring contracts?
Well, I was thinking about Grisham, but he ended up having a big home run the other night. So it's like
So
that's why you don't trade him. But Devin Williams should have been traded. I think he would have been. Yes, Jay Snow, I get that, but he's also blown a ton of saves that makes me kind of miss Clay Holmes a little bit. Like that's how rough Devin Williams has been in that closer role this year. They could have moved him because Joel Sherman did say that teams were calling about him. So I think that would have made sense because you got Bednar for next year, you've got Doval for the next 2 years. I think Jake Bird is a guy that can be a solid middle relief to setup type of guy with Matt Blake being his pitching coach. I think that'll be fine. I didn't think you needed to hold on to Williams, and I'd much rather re-sign Weaver anyway over Williams. So I thought it would have been perfect had they made those moves and traded Devin Williams. It's what we talked about 2 weeks ago, buy and sell. Yeah. And it would have been trading just one player. Keeping Grisham, fine, because he's been too good that you kind of don't want to mess up the flow of the offense right now. Although I do want to see Dominguez play every day, but trading Grisham now, I mean, after the clutch moment after clutch moment after clutch moment,
yeah,
it's hard to give that up.
Yeah, my first thought was I thought if Judge was healthy, like if Judge didn't end up on the IL, I think that would have given Cashman a little more, I guess, motivation to try to make a move for Grisham. But especially with they were able to grab Slater. I know that was after the fact. But I think we had the outfield where you could have survived. But when you get a guy, like you said, I wasn't looking to get rid of Grisham, but I don't think that he's going to, that's a player that's going to be re-signed. Goldschmidt, is not coming back, and Williams, Weaver, these are all expiring contracts. I was watching more curiously if any of those guys would have been, would have been moved.
I think they should have moved Williams. I just it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense why they kept him, because we've now depleted our farm system for this deadline, and we could have accrued some assets back by trading away Williams. So, so we got Yankees farm here. I was surprised with the trades of Perez and Carlos De La Rosa, but I understand the front office motives. Yes, losing Rodrigo hurt. Carlos De La Rosa hurt me the most. I expected Flores to move ever since he moved. Salute to Yankees farm. Yankees farm. It's good to have him in the chat right now. Actually, after the moves that went down, De La Rosa was someone that just throws nothing but fire, and he's still young. Isn't he only like 18, 19?
He's 17 years old.
Oh my god!
He was in DSL, I believe. So yeah, he's young, but I think he had like 40 strikeouts, like 20 something innings. Like lively arm, very lively arm. And again, he brings up another good point here. Undrafted free agents. Three of our guys we traded, Ben Shields and Flores, and I can't remember who else was part of that group. But three undrafted free agents netted us help yesterday. Major league talent that's going to help us for this year and next year. I think it speaks to how the Yankees operate in the minor leagues. They churn out catchers like Willy Wonka churns out chocolate. Like, it's just every year there's another catcher in the system that's getting traded. It's going to be a point in the next couple of years where like half of the league is using Yankee farmhands as their catchers. Like, it's unbelievable how good they are in that. Pitchers and catchers, yes, Jason, no, they develop them very well. Teams want Yankee catchers and they want Yankee pitchers. Ben Shields, I mean, out of nowhere they traded him. I didn't see that coming. Tristan Vreeling, who's been kind of teetering in the top 30 on and off, he got traded. Teams want Yankee pitchers. We turned our sixth round pick from last year into a third baseman. So, I mean, credit to the farm system, credit to the development, because they know what they're doing there in terms of pitching and catching.
I'm
and I think
surprised
they'll be
they
fine.
kept a hold of JC Escara after they sent him down to AAA. I would have thought that they should have traded him to get some assets back. The Yankees clearly aren't too bothered about accruing assets because they had plenty of guys that could have gotten them some assets in return for the. So obviously, I'm not happy that they got rid of Flores. Who in the Yankee farm system right now at catcher could step in and replace Austin Wells?
I mean, I think the replacement catcher right now would have to be Rice. I know he's not a prospect, but
he's not a good defender, though.
I mean, teams were calling about his availability at catcher, so teams are seeing something in him behind. He called a pretty good game. Well, Stroman stinks. Outside of Stroman, De Los Santos was filthy, and Ben Rice was catching him. So.
Yeah. He's also because the lost he was raking this season.
Oh, yeah.
You guys know how much I like Jesus Rodriguez. Yeah, Martinez is the guy. That's really it until a few of these younger guys do come up. But again, they churn out catchers left and right every single year. I mean, look at Narvaez. We all thought like this is probably a backup. He's been a starter. He's been outstanding this year. So it's like every year there's another guy that comes into the system that's really good behind the plate, and you kind of don't worry about it because that's how the Yankees operate when it comes to catchers. They just keep getting them.
Well, let's hope that continues, man. I hope it doesn't dry up after Flores. Yankee Farm says Umar Martinez is the next big catcher.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I think, look, the catching position, I brought this up a few years ago. I think it is a position in baseball that's really having a lot of issues because you don't have, there are only a handful out of, all the every team's got two, right? So you got 60 catches. How many of them are really all around defensively and offensively, must watch guys? There are, you probably not even getting to 5 of them, so, the catching position, I think is kind of, as long as they're working best with their pitching staff, you can survive with more of a mediocre bat. But it's hard to have it the other way around. We had the guy with the bat that really didn't catch well with Sanchez. I'd rather have the other way around, like with Wells, that's going to really work well with the pitching, or Rice that's starting to really get a nice relationship with the pitching. I think Rice looks like he could be that guy. That's more of the overall guy, because we've seen he does have the bat.
I'm edging towards making Ben Rice our number one catcher.
Yeah, so that's what I'm alluding to. Yeah.
He's looked better at catcher than he has at first. He's
looked pretty. Just say it. Just say it. Speak it with your chest.
No, I want to give it a little. I got to get details of why. I can't just throw it out there and be like, yeah. I want to give a little reasoning to my thoughts.
You could be seeing more of a platoon.
Thought. Huh?
Next year, you could see more of a platoon because Rice has been better against lefties this year, but still hasn't been excellent, where Wells actually hits lefties better. Even though they're both left-handed bats, you can kind of platoon it that way. And if they do keep Bellinger, which they should, he could be the first baseman next year. If they're that serious about Spencer Jones being untouchable. Then Jones is going to play the outfield next year. So Ben Rice, I don't think he should be a first baseman. He's actually looked pretty bad at first this year, where he's looked fine behind the plate, which I thought was going to be the complete opposite this year. I thought he's the future at first, and then Wells will be the future behind the plate. But now, let's not forget Escara did a fine job as the backup catcher. So they still have Escara. So I don't think it's the end of the world that they traded 3 different catchers this deadline, even though it sucks that the more ready guys were traded, but they still have 3 quality catchers that are major league ready right now. So I think Rice is going to be the guy moving forward, unless Wells turns it around in the final 2 months. But there's no doubt.
I'm not expecting it.
Yeah.
Ben looks far more comfortable at catching than first.
He does.
I think that's an absolute certainty. And that bat is just too valuable. Rice's bat is too valuable to not get in that lineup as much as humanly possible. I don't want him just to be a DH. I think there's something there. So, nor do I want him just to be this utility dude which plays like 4 positions. I don't think he's an Andujar. I think he's someone that you try and get in the lineup every day. So I would love to see Ben Rice really take that role and run with it. You saw it yesterday, man. You saw it yesterday. Mashed another home run. I like him. I like him. And he doesn't have any of the silly moments that Austin Wells has been having this year. So.
Well, no, that's it. I think the Yankees will benefit going towards the second half of this year to switch the roles with Wells and Rice.
Yeah.
I think that would benefit everybody because, one, you're able to get Rice's bat in the lineup as much as possible without having to get too manipulative with first base and DH. So I think that fixes that problem. Wells gets a little time to just kind of collect himself a little bit and see what he needs to work on. If he's not have to worry about day in, day out game planning, and I think Wells has the maturity to understand that, hey, this is baseball. I really think it would help him mentally as well. But the one last topic,
Wells is hurt, but the Yankees don't seem to know. Well, that sounds like the Yankee medical system.
I mean,
look at what happened with Judge. They went from thinking Judge's arm was no big deal to 10-day IL. So that's the Yankee operation.
Yeah, they can show up in an arm cast or a leg cast, and they'll be in the lineup. They'll be fine.
They pretty much had Leiter pitching on a broken leg, so they don't know what the hell they're doing.
It makes me so mad.
I don't trust this Yankee medical examination at all. So that's why when I saw that Judge winced, I was like, he's hurt. And they're like, oh, you'll be fine. I said, no, he's not. And then next thing you know, he's because he can't throw. And luckily, it's not a tear in the freaking UCL, but God, that could have been. I think they should give him as much time as possible. I know we want Judge back. We need Judge back, but I think the offense will be fine. Yeah, because Bellinger has been carrying in the absence of Judge.
What a treat to watch him play.
He's been fantastic, dude. Like, who would have? He's already eclipsed his home run total from last year.
Yeah.
And he's making the case that he's going to get a pretty big payday because he's going to opt out at this rate. He keeps this up, he's going to opt out. And the Yankees will have to either bring him back or they're going to have to go after Tucker or something because at this rate, you can't let Bellinger leave. You know that he can do it. He seems to love being here. 5-tool player, you're right. He can play anywhere. Left, right, center, first. He's doing it all. He runs that triple. I did not think that was going to be a triple the other night. He made it look so easy. It looked like a gapper for a double. Classic double into the gap. Turns into a triple. They stranded him, of course, but it was he's been out freaking standing, and I can't say enough. I think the Yankees really going to have to consider keeping him around for next at least like another 3-4 year deal or something like that, unless he wants more opt-outs. But he's been out. What a steal of a trade that turned out.
Oh, absolutely steal.
Yeah,
absolutely nothing.
I threw this idea at everybody the other day, Rob, and I'll get your take on it. If you're Cashman, are you going to Bellinger's camp being, look, if you take your player option and stay with us, we'll add another year onto your deal at market value. If you're Cashman, are you doing that? Are you adding this way he's here for 3 seasons? Or what do you think that Bellinger or Cashman would want to do with that?
What's market value?
Well, at that deadline, whatever fair value is for a year after the.
Well, you're gonna have to look and see what a guy like Tucker's getting, or a
Well,
guy like.
well, as I'm saying, fair market value. Well, whenever the negotiations would take place, they take place now. Whatever the market value would be. But not try to. I'm saying Cashman should not try to undersell him.
Well, Gerard's got it there. He doesn't sign the Scott Bars and do team-friendly deals.
Right.
Don't expect too many discounts. But what I will say is, me and Taz did say, watching the game in the stands yesterday, we turned to each other and said, he was born to be a Yankee. That's what Bellinger is, born to be a Yankee.
He was my top choice if they didn't get Soto 2 years ago. When they would talk about trading for Soto, I was like, get Bellinger, because I thought he would have been such a perfect fit. And he is. Lefty swing with a pull lefty swing in Yankee Stadium. It's short porch. It's a little league stadium, whatever. But he's got 21 home runs now. I think it is 20 home runs. I mean, come on now. He's got 800 plus OPS. He's been great while being an excellent defender. What's up, old Sarge?
What's going on, old Sarge?
Yep. And the last topic I wanted to bring up before we sign off, and I want to look at this deadline not just for this year but long term. I think that another major win for Cashman are the amount of players that he traded that still have years of control, and the fact that we were able to make the moves we did without going too steep in the price. 4 types of these guys, I think, adds to the grading that we gave Cashman, and I think he's also thinking of next year as well, while still saying, look, we're still going to be we still could contend with anybody in baseball right now, but we're also going to be able to carry a lot of these guys over to next year.
Yeah, toolable assets. It's huge.
Yeah. That's what I wanted. I was get relief pitchers with control, because getting rentals is one thing, but let's not forget that Weaver and Williams are free agents after the season. I would assume Weaver's back, but Williams, no shot. He ain't coming back. He's gone.
No.
So now you have a closer under contract for next year. You have 2 under contract for next year. We didn't have any 24 hours ago. We didn't have a closer under contract for 26. So the team's better for the rest of this year to make a push. And they're starting to play better baseball. There's still a lot of things that need to be cleaned up, like Volpe and Austin Wells, but they're better for this year and they're better for next year, and that's very important. Guy like Cruz as well, if he can stay healthy, I think Jake Bird's going to be a very underrated move. I look back at the Clay Holmes trade. I got really mad when they traded Hoy Park. Who the hell is Hoy Park now, right? And Clay Holmes turned out to be pretty damn good overall. A headache, but he was still better than most relief pitchers were for us during that time. I think Jake Bird checks a lot of those boxes, because if you look at his Savant page, you see a different story than that 4+ ERA. That curveball is disgusting, and I really want to see what Matt Blake can do with him. Plus, he's got options, so you don't have to put him on the roster immediately. That's a guy that you can work with a little bit.
Flexible.
Yeah, and I think that's important, to have that under control for another few years. A guy that can turn into a very solid middle relief to maybe setup type of guy. I don't think he has to be he has reverse splits. You're right, Jay Snow. And I think it was Jonathan that was bringing him up in the chat a few weeks ago, and NFE. I like the trade. I understand it's not the sexiest move because of his ERA, and he was with Colorado, but I feel like that's going to be a guy that at some point in the next in the next year or so, we're going to look at as a pretty solid move. I'm not saying he's going to be the next closer. I'm just saying he's going to be a solid piece to a bullpen that needs as many arms as we can get, because we see the injuries pile up every year, and I don't want to see Ian Hamilton pitching too many times for this team.
No, luckily he's been sent down, so good news there. I can't wait to see how Aaron Boone's going to manage 5 closers.
Well, what'd you say earlier? He'll find a way. How he finds a way to screw it up. He will.
Yep.
He already did by announcing Williams being the closer.
The pressure's off Brian Cashman. Cashman's done his job.
Well, I need to amend my statement I made. Go ahead, Donald. Sorry.
He's given him an infield. He's given him a bench. He's given him a bullpen. He's given him multiple closers. It's there. It's there. How can Aaron Boone manage it? The pressure's on Aaron Boone. If Aaron Boone screws this up, he has got to go. I mean, to be honest, he's got to go anyway, but he's got to go if he mismanages this bullpen, because this bullpen is set, it's elite, it's just off the Padres in terms of best bullpens in the majors. It's shortened the game now, where we only need to go 5 innings.
Yeah.
And now you could just lay out, just beast closer after beast closer after beast closer. It's set up. How can Aaron Boone screw it up? Watch this space.
Well, I'm going to amend the name, Donald, of what I used yesterday when we were on the train. I think Boone he's that guy. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. Unfortunately, he's the only one in it.
It's a great point.
We were saying that early when we first met up. Headed to the stadium, we were saying that about Cashman, with the deadline and how, last year was so underwhelming. But I think that he got a reprieve from any trash talk for the time being.
He did his job. It's the only way you can put it. He did his job, like Donald just said. Now it's up to the guy who uses a T-shirt as motivation. So, I mean, every time Aaron Boone opens his mouth, I want to vomit. What did he say the other day? They were asking him about why can't you bench Volpe or why can't you give him a day? And he goes, "Well, look at this T-shirt I'm wearing." And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, what other type of cliche is he gonna come out with? Like, every day he's finding some other reason to puff up Anthony Volpe. Look, I don't know how. I know he's been better offensively lately, but like every game he's having a yip defensively that's costing us."
Yep.
And even to a point where Boone himself was like, I know it's kind of happened a little too much lately, so he's kind of come off of it. But any chance he gets to puff him up, now he's using a T-shirt?
That's disgraceful. It's disgusting and it's absurd. And I'm going to get into that another day, but wow.
Also, the Austin Wells thing, if we can just touch on that real quick, because that was probably the definition of what Yankee baseball has been this year. Forgot how many outs there were when the guy at the plate was bunting. So why the hell would he be bunting with 2 outs? And then he dropped the ball, and the next inning, luckily Weaver was covering behind him. But I was like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
If they didn't use Rice in that game and had an actual backup catcher, he should have been benched on the spot. Luckily, he didn't play yesterday.
Yep. It's Aaron Boone's Yankees, baby.
I think he had some of Volpe's chicken parm yesterday, or that game.
Old chicken
That's
parm.
the only explanation.
Old chicken parm.
It was sitting in the fridge for about a week. Spoiled chicken. Ain't no way you eat chicken parm and play like that. Trust me.
But that's going to wrap things up. We're going to see how things pan out over the weekend, and how they do manage these games, and what trick Boone has up his sleeve to screw it up. But we will be back next week. So make sure you hit that sub button, hit that like button, hit the notification bell so you never miss a show. Tune in Sunday on the upper deck with Lynn and Sierra as they break down. They're gonna have a lot to say about the trade deadline as well. So with that, make sure you always remember to wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.
Welcome back, Luis Heel.